My son laughed. A lawyer? Mom, you don't even understand what these papers mean. Just sign where I tell you. The next day I walked in with 2 attorneys, a police detective, and recordings of everything he'd said. He went white as a sheet. I set the recorder on the table between us. Please continue explaining how confused I am. My legal team is fascinated. Before we continue, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to hear my story. If you're comfortable, let me know where you're listening from, and what time it is where you are. Now let me tell you my story. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, 2 years and 3 months after I buried my husband James. It wasn't the envelope itself that unsettled me. It was the return address. Eric Sullivan. My son. The son who'd been distant during James's illness. Who'd barely visited during those terrible final weeks. Who'd spent more time asking about insurance policies than asking how I was holding up. I opened it with shaking hands. Inside were legal documents. Dense, complicated legal documents with sticky notes marking where I should sign. And a brief note in Eric's handwriting. Mom, these are important. I'll come by Saturday to go through them. Don't worry about reading all the fine print. I'll explain everything. Love. Eric. Don't worry about reading the fine print. Something about that phrase made my stomach turn. I was 70 years old living alone in the house James and I had shared for 42 years. The house where we'd raised our 2 children, where we'd celebrated birthdays and anniversaries, where James had died in our bedroom with hospice nurses monitoring his morphine drip. 2 years. It had been 2 years since I'd held his hand as he took his last breath. 2 years since I'd become a widow. And I still wasn't used to it. Still woke up some mornings reaching for him, forgetting for just a moment that his side of the bed was empty. I looked at the documents through tears that came too easily these days. Power of attorney, transfer of property deed, healthcare proxy, banking authorization. Even through my grief-fogged mind, alarm bells were ringing. My name is Margaret Sullivan, and before I tell you what happened with my son, you need to understand who I was. Who I am. Most people knew me as a retired elementary school teacher. For 40 years I'd taught 2nd grade at Riverside Elementary. I'd taught hundreds of children to read, to write, to think critically. I'd been good at it, won awards, been nominated for Teacher of the Year twice. That's what Eric knew about me. That's what everyone knew about me. What they didn't know, what Eric had never bothered to ask about, was what I did before teaching. Before Eric was born. Before I became a mother, I worked for 15 years as a paralegal at Morrison & Associates, one of the largest law firms in the state. I'd started there right out of college, working my way up from file clerk to senior paralegal in the estate planning division. I specialized in elder law, estate planning, power of attorney documents, probate cases, and, heartbreakingly, elder financial abuse cases. I'd seen it all. Adult children forging signatures on bank documents, family members draining accounts, predatory powers of attorney that gave children complete control over their parents' lives and assets. I'd helped prosecute people who'd done to their parents exactly what these documents would allow Eric to do to me. I'd left the legal field when Eric was born. James and I had talked about it. One of us needed to be home with the children, and my salary was smaller than his. It made financial sense. So I'd transitioned to teaching, which offered better hours for a working mother. But I'd never forgotten my legal training. Never stopped reading case law. Never lost my ability to read contracts and understand exactly what they meant. And these documents Eric had sent me, they were predatory, aggressive, designed to give him immediate complete control over every aspect of my life. While I was still alive and fully competent, I sat at my kitchen table crying as I read through the papers and felt something harden inside my chest. Saturday arrived too quickly. Eric showed up at 2 in the afternoon, carrying a leather portfolio and wearing what he probably thought was a reassuring smile. Mom, he hugged me, but it felt performative, like an actor playing the role of a concerned son. How are you feeling? You look tired. I'm fine, I said, wiping my eyes. I'd been crying that morning. I cried a lot these days. Just missing your father. I know, Mom, I know. That's why I'm here, to help you. He set his portfolio on the kitchen table. Did you read through the documents I sent? I tried, but they're very complicated. That's why I'm here, to explain everything. He pulled out the papers, spreading them across the table. These are estate planning documents. Standard stuff. They'll protect you and make sure everything is managed properly. Eric, these give you control of my house, my bank accounts, my medical decisions. He laughed. Not a kind laugh, but a condescending one. A lawyer. Mom, You don't even understand what these papers mean. Just sign where I tell you. The words hit me like a slap. You taught elementary school for 40 years, he continued, his voice taking on that slow, patronizing tone people use with children or the very old. You're not equipped to understand legal documents. That's not an insult, Mom. It's just reality. You taught kids to read C-spot round. This is complex legal language. I stared at my son, this man I'd carried for 9 months, nursed at my breast, raised with love and care, and saw a stranger. I'd like to understand them. I said quietly, I may be old, but I'm not stupid. No one said you're stupid, but you're 70 years old. Dad always handled this stuff. Now I need to handle it. That's just how it works. Your father never controlled me, Eric. We made decisions together. Well, Dad's gone now. His voice was cold. And you can't manage everything alone. You're confused. You're grieving. You need help. That's what these papers do. They let me help you. What if I want to make my own decisions? His jaw tightened. Mom, you're not thinking clearly. This is exactly why you need me to handle things. You're questioning documents designed to protect you. That shows impaired judgment. Impaired judgment? Yes. You're not yourself lately. Everyone's noticed it. Everyone? Who's everyone? Your friends. Your neighbors. I've been talking to them. They're worried about you. Something cold slithered down my spine. You've been talking to my friends about me. Someone has to you. You're showing signs of cognitive decline, forgetfulness, confusion, asking the same questions repeatedly. I've never done any of those things. You don't remember, Mom. That's the problem with dementia. The person experiencing it doesn't realize it's happening. I stood up so fast my chair scraped across the floor. I do not have dementia. Not yet. But it's starting. And that's why we need to act now while you can still sign these papers legally.
Get out.
Eric's expression shifted from fake concern to real anger. Excuse me? Get out of my house. Take your papers and leave. He stood too, looming over me. Eric was 6 feet tall, and I was barely 5'3". The size difference had never seemed threatening before. Now it did. I'm not leaving until you sign these, Mom. Then, you're trespassing. Leave. Now. He grabbed the papers, shoving them into his portfolio. Fine, but you're making a mistake. A big one. And when you come to your senses and realize you need my help, I might not be so generous. Generous? Eric? These papers give you everything I own. Everything Dad owned. Everything he built. And it should go to me, his son, not sit unused while you waste away in this house. Your father left everything to me for my security. Your security, Eric laughed bitterly. You're 70 years old. How much security do you need? Another 10 years? 15? That's my inheritance you're sitting on. My future. Get out. He headed for the door, then turned back. You'll sign these papers, Mom. One way or another, you can do it voluntarily now, or I can petition the court to have you declared incompetent. Your choice. Then he was gone, and I was alone in my kitchen shaking so hard I had to sit down. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Eric's words. Cognitive decline. Forgetfulness. Confusion. None of it was true. I managed my finances perfectly well, paid my bills on time, balanced my checkbook, remembered appointments, birthdays, everything. But Eric was telling people I was showing signs of dementia, building a narrative, creating a foundation for having me declared incompetent. I got out of bed at 3 in the morning and went to the attic. I hadn't been up here since James died. Too many memories, too much pain, but now I had a purpose. I found them in boxes at the back, my old files from Morrison and Associates, legal textbooks, case files I'd kept for reference, certificates and awards from my paralegal career. I carried them down to my home office and spent the rest of the night reading. By morning I understood exactly what Eric was trying to do, and I knew how to stop him. Margaret Sullivan. I can't believe it's really you. Linda Chen stood in the doorway of her corner office at Morrison and Associates, and she looked exactly as I remembered. Sharp eyes, elegant suit, commanding presence. She was 65 now, a senior partner at the firm where we'd worked together 30 years ago. Linda. I hugged her, and she hugged me back hard. When you called, I almost didn't believe it. Margaret Sullivan, coming out of retirement. She ushered me into her office. Sit, please. Tell me everything. I told her about James's death, about Eric's documents, about his threats to have me declared incompetent, about him talking to my friends and neighbors, building a case against my mental competence. Linda listened, her expression growing darker with each sentence. When I finished, she said, "Margaret, this is textbook elder financial abuse. We need to report this to Adult Protective Services. Get law enforcement involved." "No." My voice was firm. "He's my son, Linda. I won't send him to prison." "Then what do you want to do?" "I want to know the truth. I want to hear him admit what he's really doing, what he really thinks of me. And then I want him to understand what he tried to do, who he tried to do it to, and I want him to face consequences, but not prison, not if I can help it." Linda leaned back in her chair. "You always were more merciful than I was. Even when we prosecuted those elder abuse cases, you'd argue for lighter sentences if the defendants showed real remorse. Eric is my son. I carried him, raised him, loved him. Even now, after everything, I still love him. I need to know if there's anything left in him worth saving." "All right, then let's set a trap. Let him think he's winning. Get him to reveal his true intentions. Record everything, then confront him with witnesses. He'll try to use my age against me. Say I'm confused." Linda smiled. "Then we show him exactly how unconfused you are." "Margaret, do you still have your paralegal certification?" "It's expired. I haven't practiced in 30 years. But you still have the knowledge, the training, the expertise." Linda pulled out a legal pad. "Here's what we're going to do." Over the next week, I transformed from grieving widow to strategic operative. Linda helped me set up everything. We drafted new estate documents, a will that left Eric exactly $1, a power of attorney naming Linda as my agent, a trust that put my house beyond anyone's reach. We transferred my bank accounts to new accounts Eric didn't know about, protected my assets, made sure that even if Eric somehow got guardianship over me, he couldn't access anything. We also set up recording equipment in my home. Small cameras and microphones that Eric would never notice. Everything was legal. This was my home, my property, and I could record what happened here. Linda also connected me with Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a geriatric psychiatrist. "Mrs. Sullivan," Dr. Mitchell said after an extensive evaluation, "you are not showing any signs of cognitive impairment. Your memory is excellent. Your judgment is sound. You're managing complex legal and financial matters with complete competence. Can you document that? I'll write a comprehensive report. If your son tries to have you declared incompetent, this report will refute every claim." I also called Rose Martinez, my best friend of 20 years. Rose was 68, a retired social worker, and absolutely fierce when she needed to be. "Margaret, that boy needs to be taught a lesson," she said when I told her everything. "Will you help me?" "Of course. What do you need?" "I need you here when I confront him. As a witness, and as backup in case things get physical." Rose's expression darkened. "You think he might hurt you?" "I think he's desperate, and desperate people are dangerous." I called Eric on Thursday evening. "Eric? It's Mom." Silence. Then cautiously, "Hi Mom, I've been thinking about what you said, about the papers, and..." I forced myself to sound small, defeated, confused. "Maybe you're right. Maybe I do need help. I've been forgetting things, getting confused. Maybe I'm not as capable as I thought." "Mom, are you okay? You sound strange." "I'm just tired, overwhelmed. Could you come over Saturday? I think I'm ready to sign the papers." I could hear the satisfaction in his voice. "Of course, Mom. I'll be there at 2. You're making the right decision." After I hung up, I sat at my kitchen table and cried. Not from fear, from grief. Grief for the son I thought I had. Grief for the relationship we'd never have again. Rose came over that evening, bringing wine and tissues. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, as we sat in my living room. "Margaret, this is going to break your heart." "My heart is already broken. James is gone, and Eric stopped being my son the moment he decided to exploit my grief for money. But once you do this, there's no going back. Your relationship with him will be over. It's already over. I just need to make it official." Saturday morning, I prepared like I was preparing for battle. I dressed carefully, neat slacks, a pressed blouse, minimal jewelry. I wanted to look competent, in control, not like the confused elderly woman Eric expected. Linda and her partner Robert Martinez arrived at noon to set up. "We'll be in your home office," Linda explained. "The door will be open slightly so we can hear everything. When you're ready for us to come out, just say the phrase we agreed on." "My legal team is fascinated," I repeated. "Exactly. And Margaret, are you sure you don't want to call the police? We have enough evidence for criminal charges." "I'm sure. I need to try this my way first. Rose arrived at 1:30. She'd be in the kitchen listening, ready to intervene if Eric became violent. At exactly 2 o'clock, Eric's car pulled into my driveway. I took a deep breath and opened the door. Mom! Eric hugged me, and this time he seemed genuinely happy. You look good, better than last week. I've been thinking a lot, I said, leading him into the living room. About what you said, about needing help. Good? That's good, Mom. I'm glad you're being reasonable about this. He set his portfolio on the coffee table, pulled out the papers. So, let's go through these quickly so you can sign. Actually, I'd like you to explain them to me first. In detail. Eric's expression flickered with impatience, but he masked it quickly. Mom, we went through this last week. These are standard estate planning documents, but I want to understand what I'm signing. I'm not stupid, Eric. No one said you're stupid. His voice was taking on that patronizing tone again. But you're old. You taught elementary school. You're not equipped for complex legal thinking. Walk me through them anyway. Please, he sighed dramatically. Fine. This one transfers the house deed to joint ownership. That means, if something happens to you, I inherit immediately without probate. And this one? This adds me to your bank accounts, so I can help you manage your finances, and you'd have access to all my money? Well, yes, but I'd only use it to help you, Mom. To pay your bills, manage your expenses. What if I want to make a purchase you don't approve of? Eric's jaw tightened. Then we'd discuss it. But honestly, Mom, at your age, you don't need to be making major purchases. You need stability, not change. This document says power of attorney with immediate effect. What does that mean? It means I can make decisions for you. Medical decisions, financial decisions. It takes the burden off you. Even if I'm capable of making my own decisions. Mom, you're not as capable as you think. You're showing signs of decline. It's better to put these protections in place now while you can still legally sign them. I felt tears starting, not fake ones, but real ones. Eric, why are you talking to me like I'm a child? I'm not. Yes, you are. Like I'm stupid. Like I can't understand basic concepts. Because you're acting confused. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You can't even follow a simple conversation about legal documents. These aren't simple documents, Eric. They're comprehensive control documents. They're protective documents. God, Mom, why are you making this so difficult? He stood up, pacing. Just sign the papers so we can move forward. What if I don't want to sign them? Eric stopped pacing. His expression shifted to something cold. Then you're not thinking clearly, which proves you need them. That's circular logic. It's reality. Mom, you're 70 years old. You're a widow. You're alone in this house, trying to manage everything by yourself, and you're failing. I'm not failing. You are. I've talked to your friends, your neighbors. They all say you're different lately. Forgetful. Confused. You repeat yourself. You ask the same questions over and over. That's not true. It is true. Rose Martinez told me you forgot your lunch date last month. We never had a lunch date. See? You don't even remember. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I stood up, my voice shaking. Stop lying about me. I'm not lying. I'm describing your cognitive decline. Everyone sees it except you, which is the classic sign of dementia. I do not have dementia. Not yet. But it's starting, and that's why we need to act now. He grabbed the papers, shoved them at me. Sign these, Mom. Just sign them and stop fighting me. No. Eric's face went red. What did you say? I said no. I'm not signing them. Mom, I'm not asking anymore. I'm telling you. Sign the papers. Or what? Or I'll petition the court to have you declared incompetent. I'll bring in doctors. I'll show them evidence of your decline. I'll get guardianship and then I'll have control anyway. But you want me to sign now so you don't have to go through court? I'm trying to make this easy on you. To let you keep some dignity. But if you force me to go the legal route, fine. I'll do it, and then you'll have access to my money. Eric's mask finally fell away completely. It's not your money, Mom. It's Dad's money. Money he built. Money that should come to me. Your father left it to me, because he was trying to protect you. But he didn't know you'd live this long. Didn't know you'd sit on over $1 million doing nothing with it while I'm drowning in debt. There it was. The truth, finally spoken out loud. So this is about your debt? I'm $200,000 in the hole, Mom. My business is failing. I'm being sued. I need that money. Then you should have come to me honestly. Asked for help. Eric laughed. A harsh, bitter sound. Ask for help? Like a loan? From my own mother? That money is already mine. It's my inheritance. It's just stuck with you until you die. The room went silent. Until I die, I repeated quietly. Eric realized what he'd said. Tried to backtrack. I didn't mean, you're waiting for me to die. That's what this is really about. No, Mom. I just meant eventually. How long have you been waiting? How long have you been seeing me as just an obstacle between you and money? That's not fair. When did I stop being your mother and become just a bank account with an expiration date? You're twisting my words. Your exact words were until you die. That's not twisted. That's what you said. Eric's expression hardened. Fine. You want honesty. Here's honesty. Yes. I'm waiting to inherit. That's what children do. They wait for their parents to die so they can inherit. It's normal. Not while the parent is still alive and grieving. Well, maybe you should have died with Dad. Then I wouldn't have to wait. The words hung in the air like poison. I stared at my son, this man I'd raised, and felt something inside me die. Get out. I whispered. Not until you son. Get out of my house. Eric grabbed my arm hard, bruisingly hard. You'll sign these papers, Mom. Right now, or I swear to God, you're hurting me. Good. Maybe pain will make you smarter. He shoved the papers at me, pen in his other hand. Sign them. No. Sign them or I'll make your life hell. I'll tell everyone you're senile. I'll have you evaluated by doctors I choose. I'll get you declared incompetent and committed. Let go of me. Not until you sign. Rose burst from the kitchen. That's enough. Eric spun around, his grip on my arm loosening but not releasing. Who the hell? Get your hands off her, now. Eric dropped my arm, faced Rose. This is a private family conversation. You just assaulted your mother. That's not a conversation, that's a crime. Eric's face went white. I didn't assault anyone. I saw you grab her. Saw you hurt her. Heard you threaten her. He turned to me, his expression shifting to something calculated, manipulative. Mom, tell her. I was just trying to help you, that you're confused and don't understand what's happening. I looked at the stranger wearing my son's face and said clearly, I understand perfectly. You're trying to steal from me. I'm your son. I'm trying to help you manage. You called me stupid. Said I was too old to understand legal documents. Said you're waiting for me to die so you can have your inheritance. I was frustrated. I didn't mean. You grabbed me, hurt me, tried to force me to sign papers that would give you control of everything I own. Eric's eyes darted between me and Rose. I could see him calculating, trying to find an angle. Mom, you're upset. You're not thinking clearly. This is exactly why you need me to make decisions for you. I'm thinking very clearly, Eric. And I'm not signing your papers. Then you're making the biggest mistake of your life. Because I'll take this to court. I'll bring in everyone who's noticed your decline. I'll show a judge you're incompetent. And I'll win. I took a breath. This was the moment. Eric, before I taught elementary school, what did I do for a living? He blinked, confused by the question. What? My career. Before teaching, do you know what it was? I don't know. You've always been a teacher. No, I became a teacher when you were born because I needed better hours for childcare. But before that I worked for 15 years as a paralegal. Eric's face started to lose color. At Morrison & Associates I continued, one of the largest law firms in the state. I specialized in estate law. You never told me that. You never asked. You assumed I was just a teacher. That I was simple, unsophisticated, easy to manipulate. I picked up his documents from where they'd fallen. These papers you brought? I know exactly what they say. Immediate property transfer, joint account access. Healthcare proxy with vague competency triggers. This isn't estate planning, Eric. This is asset seizure. These are the same kind of predatory documents I used to help prosecute people for using on their elderly parents. Eric was backing toward the door. My lawyer said these were standard. Your lawyer is Thomas Brennan. He has 6 ethics complaints filed against him for predatory elder law practices. I filed the 7th complaint 3 days ago with copies of your documents as evidence. You filed a complaint against my lawyer? I also did a complete background check on you. I know your real estate license was suspended. I know about your lawsuits. I know you're $200,000 in debt. How did you? Because I spent 15 years as a legal professional, Eric. I know how to research, how to investigate, how to gather evidence. I pulled out a folder from beside the couch. This is my new will. You inherit $1. Everything else goes to charity. You can't. This is my new power of attorney. Linda Chen, my former colleague and mentor, is now my legal agent. Not you, Mom. You don't know what you're doing. This is an irrevocable trust. My house is now protected. You can never claim it, no matter what happens to me. And these, I pulled out more documents, are statements from my new bank accounts. Accounts you don't know about and can never access. I've moved all my assets. You can't touch any of it. Eric stood frozen, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. You thought I was stupid, I said quietly. You thought teaching elementary school meant I couldn't understand legal documents. You thought my grief made me vulnerable and easy to control. You were wrong. Mom? Wait, but I wasn't sure. I needed to know if there was anything left in you worth saving. If somewhere inside you was the son I raised. The boy who used to hug me and say he loved me. Tears were streaming down my face now. So I set a trap. Let you think you were winning. Waited to hear what you'd really say. What you really thought of me. And now I know. You think I'm stupid. You think I'm in your way. You wish I'd died with your father. You grabbed me, hurt me, threatened me. You said those things, not me. You're twisting. I pointed to the corner of the room. I recorded everything. Eric's eyes followed my finger to the small camera mounted near the ceiling. Every word, every threat, every moment you grabbed me and tried to force me to sign your papers. You recorded me? In your own house? That's illegal. It's completely legal. This is my home, my property. I can record what happens here. The doorbell rang. Eric jumped. Who is that? My legal team, I said. I told them to arrive at 2:30. I walked to the door, my legs shaking but my resolve solid, and opened it. Linda Chen and Robert Martinez walked in, both carrying briefcases. Behind them came two more people. My daughter Jessica, who'd flown in from Seattle overnight, and James's brother, Uncle Frank. Eric saw Jessica and his face crumpled. Jess, what are you doing here? Jessica's eyes were red from crying. Mom called me, told me what you've been doing. I didn't want to believe it, Eric. But then she sent me the recording. What recording? This recording. Linda walked to my laptop, opened it, pressed play. Eric's voice filled the room, his threats, his cruelty, his admission that he was waiting for me to die. His statement that maybe I should have died with Dad, and finally the sound of him grabbing me crying out in pain. Him shouting at me to sign the papers. When it ended, the room was silent. Jessica was crying openly. Uncle Frank looked like he wanted to hit something. Eric was white as a sheet. You can't use that. I was just frustrated. I didn't mean, you meant every word, I said. I needed to hear it. Needed to know if my son was still in there somewhere. Or if you'd become someone I didn't recognize. Mom, please. Now I know. And now you have a choice to make. Linda stepped forward, pulling documents from her briefcase. Eric Sullivan, we have evidence of attempted elder financial abuse, assault, coercion, attempted fraud. Fraud? I haven't forged anything. Robert pulled out photos. We found these in your car, practice sheets where you've been copying your mother's signature. Eric stared at the photos of pages covered in Margaret Sullivan, written over and over in his handwriting. We obtained them during a search of your vehicle, which was parked on a public street. Robert continued. Along with blank checks from your mother's checkbook that she never gave you permission to take. Linda's voice was hard as steel. You were planning to forge her signature, steal from her accounts. If the paperwork route didn't work, you had a backup plan. Uncle Frank spoke for the first time, his voice shaking with rage. My brother James trusted you with his wife's well-being. He died believing his son would take care of Margaret. This is how you honor him. Uncle Frank, Don't say anything. I don't want to hear your voice. Jessica wiped her eyes. Eric, I heard you. I heard you tell Mom she should have died with Dad. How could you say that? I was angry. I didn't mean it. You meant it enough to say it out loud, while grabbing her, while hurting her. Eric looked around the room at me, at Jessica, at Uncle Frank, at the lawyers. He was trapped and he knew it. What do you want from me? He asked finally, his voice small. Linda pulled out more documents. You have two choices. Choice 1, we turn all of this evidence over to the police. You're arrested, prosecuted, and likely convicted. You'll go to prison for 5 to 7 years. Prison? Choice 2, Robert continued. You sign these documents and leave the state. Leave the state? You have 30 days to relocate to another state. Any state except this one. You'll enter a pretrial diversion program for elder abuse perpetrators. Mandatory therapy. Regular monitoring. Linda, you'll also sign documents relinquishing any claim to your mother's estate. You agreed to never contest her will. You agreed to a permanent restraining order. No contact with your mother. No visits. No calls. No letters. If you complete the diversion program successfully, that's 5 years, Eric. No criminal charges are filed. You avoid prison, Robert. But if you violate any term, if you contact your mother, if you return to this state, if you fail the program, we prosecute immediately. No second chances. Eric's voice was barely a whisper. You're exiling me? I stepped forward, my voice breaking. You tried to steal from me while I was grieving your father. You threatened to have me declared incompetent. You grabbed me and tried to force me to sign away my life. Mom, I'm sorry. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference. I was desperate. I needed the money. Then you should have asked me for help. Honestly, as my son, instead you saw me as a mark. As someone to be exploited. Jessica moved beside me, putting her arm around my shoulders. Eric, I offered to loan you money last year. You said you didn't need it. You lied to me about your situation, to everyone. Uncle Frank, you've been lying for a long time, Eric. This didn't start with these papers. This has been building for years. Eric looked at me, his eyes desperate. Mom, please, don't make me leave. Don't take away my inheritance. I'm your son. You stopped being my son the moment you decided to exploit my grief for money. The moment you wished I died with your father. The moment you grabbed me and tried to force me to sign. I didn't mean it. Yes, you did. You meant every word. And I can't have someone in my life who sees me that way, who thinks of me that way. So you're giving me a choice, Eric said bitterly. Prison or exile. I'm giving you a choice I don't have to give. Because despite everything, you're still my son, and I remember the boy you used to be. I'm hoping some part of him still exists. The therapy might help you find him again, might help you understand what you did and why it was wrong. Might help you become a better person. But you can't do that here. You can't do that near me. I need to be safe, and you're not safe for me anymore. Eric looked at the documents Linda was holding out. His hands shook as he took them. If I sign these, I can never see you again. Not for 5 years minimum, and after that, we'll see. But Eric, I'm 70 years old. In 5 years I'll be 75. We may never see each other again, and you're okay with that? I wiped tears from my face. No, I'm not okay with it. It's breaking my heart, but it's necessary. I have to choose between being your mother and being your victim. I choose to be your mother, the mother who loves you enough to hold you accountable. Even when it destroys me to do it. Eric signed the papers with shaking hands. Each signature felt like a nail in a coffin. When he finished, Robert collected the documents. You have 30 days to relocate. We'll be monitoring. Don't test us. Eric stood, looking small and defeated. He started toward the door, then turned back to me one last time. Mom, I'm sorry. I know you don't believe me. But I am sorry. I believe you're sorry you got caught. Whether you're sorry you did it, time will tell. The therapy will help you figure that out. Can I hug you goodbye? I wanted to say yes. Every maternal instinct in my body was screaming at me to hug my child, to comfort him, to tell him it would be okay. But I couldn't. Because it wouldn't be okay. And he didn't deserve comfort. No, I said, my voice breaking. You lost that right when you grabbed me and tried to force me to sign. When you hurt me. When you wished I was dead. Go, Eric. Get help. Become someone better, but do it far away from me. Jessica walked him to the door. I heard them talking quietly in the foyer. Her crying, him making excuses. Then the door closed and he was gone. I collapsed onto the couch sobbing. Rose sat beside me holding me while I cried. Linda and Robert quietly packed up their equipment. Uncle Frank stood by the window watching Eric's car drive away. You did the right thing, Linda said gently. It was the hardest right thing, but it was right. Then why does it hurt so much? Because you're not a monster. You're a mother who had to make an impossible choice. And you chose yourself. That takes incredible courage. The next few weeks were a blur of grief and logistics. Eric moved to Arizona. I got updates from the diversion program. He'd enrolled, was attending therapy sessions, had found a job doing construction work. But I couldn't think about him without crying. Couldn't look at old photos. Couldn't go into his childhood bedroom without breaking down. I'd lost my husband to death. Now I'd lost my son to his own choices. The grief was overwhelming. Jessica stayed for a week, helping me process everything. Mom, you did what you had to do. Eric made his choices. You just responded to them. But what kind of mother exiles her own child? The kind who values her own life and safety. The kind who refuses to be victimized. Mom, you're a survivor, not a villain. It doesn't feel that way. It will. Eventually. Right now it just feels like loss. But someday you'll see. You saved yourself. And maybe, just maybe, you saved Eric too. By forcing him to face consequences for the first time in his life. After Jessica left, I started grief counseling, a group for widows, but I talked about Eric too. I lost my husband 2 years ago, I told the group. And now I've lost my son, not to death, to exile. Because he tried to exploit me. The counselor, Dr. Reeves, asked gently, how does that feel different from losing your husband? James's death was random, cruel, but not personal. Cancer didn't choose to take him. But Eric chose to betray me. Chose to see me as weak and stupid. Chose to try to steal from me. That feels worse somehow, more painful. An older woman in the group, maybe 80, spoke up. My daughter stole from me $50,000 before I realized what was happening. I had to get a restraining order. That was 10 years ago. I haven't seen her since. Do you regret it? I asked. Every day, and not at all. Both things are true. I regret that I had a daughter who would steal from her own mother. I regret losing that relationship, but I don't regret protecting myself. And eventually it took years. I made peace with holding both those feelings at once. That became my mantra. I can regret losing my son while not regretting protecting myself. Both things can be true. 6 months after Eric left, I received a letter. It came through the attorneys. The restraining order prohibited direct contact, but it was from Eric. I almost threw it away without reading it. But curiosity won. Mom, I know I can't contact you directly. I know you may never read this, but I needed to write it anyway. Therapy is helping. I'm seeing things I couldn't see before. How I treated you. What I tried to do. The person I became. I blamed you for having money I felt entitled to. I saw your age as weakness, your grief as opportunity. I convinced myself you were incompetent because that made it easier to justify stealing from you. I didn't think of it as stealing. I thought of it as getting what's mine early. As helping manage your assets. But that was just lies I told myself to avoid the truth. I was planning to exploit and rob my own mother. The therapist asked me, when did your mother stop being a person to you and become just a source of money? I couldn't answer. Because I don't know when it happened. It was gradual, but it was real. You weren't stupid. You were never stupid. You were grieving, vulnerable, and I used that against you. I'm ashamed, more ashamed than I've ever been of anything. I understand if you never forgive me. I wouldn't forgive me either, but I wanted you to know you were right to stop me. Right to protect yourself. Right to send me away. Because I was dangerous to you and you deserve to be safe. Thank you for not sending me to prison. Thank you for giving me a chance at redemption, even though I didn't deserve it. I'm trying to become someone better. Someone worthy of having been your son. I love you, I'm sorry, and I hope someday you can think of me without pain. Eric, I read the letter 5 times, crying through all of them, then I put it in a box with all the other documents from that terrible time. I didn't respond, couldn't respond, the restraining order prevented it, but I kept the letter, because someday maybe, it might matter. Maybe it was the beginning of Eric becoming someone different. Someone better. Or maybe it was just words from a man trying to avoid consequences. Time would tell. 1 year after Eric left, I started teaching again. Not at a school. I was too old for that now. But at the senior center teaching legal literacy classes. Before you sign anything, I told my students. Understand what you're signing. Don't let anyone rush you. Don't let anyone tell you you're too old or too confused to understand. And if someone pressures you, especially family, that's a red flag. People who truly want to help give you time and space to make informed decisions. An elderly woman, probably 75, raised her hand. My son wants me to sign power of attorney papers. He says he's trying to help, but something feels wrong. Trust that feeling. I said. Ask yourself, do you actually need help managing your affairs? Are you struggling, or does someone else just want control? I manage everything fine. Pay my bills, handle my investments. I'm not struggling. Then you don't need to give anyone power of attorney. And if someday you do need help, you can hire professionals, attorneys, financial advisors, people who work for you and can be fired if they don't act in your best interest. But he's my son. The words hit me like a punch. I understand. My son tried the same thing with me. Used his father's death to manipulate me. Tried to have me sign papers that would give him complete control. What did you do? I protected myself, gathered evidence, confronted him with witnesses. And when he wouldn't stop, I had to send him away. Your own son, my own son, it broke my heart. Still does. But it was necessary, because family doesn't give someone the right to exploit you. Another woman asked, do you regret it? Sending him away? I thought about that question. I'd been asked it dozens of times over the past year. By Jessica, by Rose, by my grief counselor, by friends. I regret that I had a son who would try to exploit me, I said finally. I regret losing that relationship, but I don't regret protecting myself. Both things are true. I can grieve what I lost while knowing I made the right choice. That's hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, harder than losing my husband. Because that was something that happened to me. This was a choice I had to make. But it was the right choice, even though it destroyed me to make it. 18 months after Eric left, Jessica called with news. Mom, Eric completed his diversion program. He's been in therapy for a year and a half. His counselor says he's made real progress. That's good, I said, and meant it. The restraining order is still in effect for another 3.5 years. But Mom, he wants to know if you'd be willing to do family therapy with him, via video call. My heart started racing. Family therapy? You wouldn't have to see him in person. It would be through a mediator. You'd each be in separate locations. Talking via video, completely safe. What would we talk about? Whatever you need to talk about. His therapist thinks it might help both of you get closure, or maybe eventually find a way forward. I don't know if I want a way forward. That's okay too. You don't owe him anything, Mom. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, nothing. But the option is there if you want it. I thought about it for 3 days, then called Jessica back. Okay, I'll try. 1 session. We'll see how it goes. The family therapy session was scheduled for a Tuesday afternoon. I sat in my living room, laptop open, heart pounding, Rose sitting beside me for support. When Eric's face appeared on screen, I almost gasped. He looked different. Older, thinner. There was something in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Shame, maybe, or humility. Hi, Mom, he said quietly. Eric, the therapist, Dr. Grant, a neutral third party neither of us had met before, facilitated the conversation. Margaret, why did you agree to this session? Because my daughter asked me to, and because, I don't know, maybe I need to hear what Eric has to say now that he's been in therapy. Eric, what would you like to say to your mother? Eric took a deep breath. That I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. Not sorry. I got caught. Sorry for what I did. What I planned to do. The person I became. I saw you as weak because you were grieving. I exploited your vulnerability. I tried to steal from you while you were mourning Dad. I told myself lies. That you were incompetent. That you didn't need all that money. That I deserved it more. That they were lies I told myself to justify what I was doing. In therapy, I've learned that I saw you as an extension of myself. Not as your own person with your own rights and needs. Just as someone who had something I wanted. His voice broke. You weren't my mother to me anymore. You were an obstacle. A bank account. Something to be managed and controlled. I'm ashamed of that person. I'm trying to become someone different. Someone better. Dr. Grant turned to me. Margaret, what do you hear when Eric says those things? I hear someone who's done work on themselves. Who's gained insight. But I also remember the person who grabbed me and tried to force me to sign papers. Who wished I'd died with my husband. Who saw me as stupid and worthless. Words are easy, Dr. Grant. Change is hard. Time will tell if Eric has really changed or if he's just learned what I want to hear. Eric flinched but didn't argue. That's fair. I don't expect you to trust me. I haven't earned it. We talked for an hour. It was painful, emotional, exhausting. But by the end I felt something shift slightly inside me. Not forgiveness, that would take much longer, if it ever came, but maybe the tiniest beginning of healing. Thank you for doing this, Mom, Eric said as we ended the session. I know it wasn't easy. No, it wasn't. Would you be willing to do another session? Next month? I looked at Rose, who nodded encouragingly, then back at the screen. Maybe, let me think about it. Okay, thank you. That's more than I deserve. After the call ended, I sat quietly for a long time. How do you feel? Rose asked. I don't know. Confused. Sad. Maybe slightly hopeful. I don't know. That's okay, you don't have to know. 2 years after Eric left, I turned 72. Jessica threw me a party, small. Just close friends and family. Rose, Uncle Frank, Jessica and her husband, a few friends from the senior center. Eric sent a card through the attorneys. It was simple. Happy birthday, Mom. I think of you every day. I hope you're well. Love, Eric. I cried when I read it. Not because it made everything okay. It didn't. But because it was something, a connection, however thin, however damaged. Jessica found me in the kitchen, wiping my eyes. You okay, Mom? I don't know, I miss him. Not the person who tried to steal from me, but the boy he used to be, the son I thought I had. He's trying to become that person again, or at least a better version. I know. And I want to believe it's real. But I'm also protecting myself, keeping distance, because I can't go through that again. No one expects you to. Mom, you get to take this at whatever pace feels safe, or not at all. There's no wrong answer. What if I never forgive him? Then you never forgive him. That's your right. Forgiveness isn't owed, it's earned, and maybe Eric never fully earns it. That's okay, but he's my son, and you're a person with rights and needs. In the fundamental right to safety. Being someone's mother doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. 3 years after Eric left, the restraining order expired. Eric was legally allowed to contact me now. To visit if he wanted, to try to rebuild, but he didn't. Instead, he sent one letter through his therapist. Mom, the restraining order is over. I could contact you now, try to see you, push for reconciliation. But I'm not going to. Because my therapist helped me understand something. True change means respecting your boundaries, even when I don't like them. You need space. You need safety. You need to know I won't push or pressure or manipulate. So I'm giving you space. As much as you need, forever, if that's what you need. If someday you want to talk, I'm here. If you want to rebuild slowly, carefully, I'm willing. If you want nothing to do with me ever again, I'll understand and respect that. I've learned that love isn't about what I want from you. It's about what you need from me. And right now you need distance. I love you. I'm sorry. And I'll wait as long as it takes. Without pressure, without expectation. Eric, I showed the letter to Dr. Reeves in my counseling session. How does it make you feel? She asked, cautiously hopeful. He's respecting my boundaries. That's new. The old Eric would have pushed, demanded, manipulated. Do you want to respond? I don't know. Part of me does. Part of me is still too hurt. Then wait. Wait until you're sure. There's no rush. I waited 6 months before responding. A brief letter carefully worded. Eric, thank you for respecting my space. That means more than you know. I'm not ready for full reconciliation, may never be ready. But I'm willing to continue the video therapy sessions if you are. Slowly, carefully, with clear boundaries. This doesn't mean everything is forgiven or forgotten. It means I'm willing to see if healing is possible. Mom, we started monthly video therapy sessions. Slowly, painfully, we began to communicate again. Not as we had been. That relationship was dead. But as something new, something more honest, more bounded, more careful. 4 years after Eric left, I was invited to speak at a state conference on elder abuse. I stood in front of 200 people and told my story. My name is Margaret Sullivan. I'm 74 years old. 4 years ago, my son tried to exploit my grief to steal my life savings. He brought me documents that would give him complete control of my assets. When I hesitated, he called me stupid, said I was too old to understand legal documents, said I was showing signs of dementia. He didn't know that before I became a teacher, I'd worked for 15 years as a paralegal specializing in elder law. I recognized his documents for what they were, predatory, exploitative, designed to trap vulnerable elderly people. I gathered evidence, I recorded his threats. I confronted him with attorneys and family members. And when he wouldn't stop, I gave him a choice. Prison or exile. He chose exile, left the state, entered a diversion program, started therapy. It's been 4 years. He's done the work, gained insight, changed, as far as I can tell, but our relationship will never be what it was. That's the cost of betrayal. Even when someone changes, even when they do everything right, trust doesn't automatically return. So when people ask me if I regret sending my son away, I tell them, I regret having a son who would exploit me. I don't regret protecting myself. Both things are true. I can grieve what I lost while knowing I made the right choice. Someone in the audience raised their hand. Have you forgiven him? I paused, considering the question honestly. I'm working on it. Forgiveness is a process, not a moment. Some days I'm closer than others, but I've learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean letting him back into my life fully. It doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means making peace with what happened while still protecting myself. It means wishing him well from a distance. It means hoping he's become someone better while not testing that with my own safety. That's what forgiveness looks like for me. It might look different for someone else. After my speech, dozens of people came up to share their stories. Sons stealing from mothers, daughters exploiting fathers, grandchildren forging signatures. Elder financial abuse by family members was epidemic. And most victims never reported it, never fought back, suffered in silence because they couldn't bear to hurt their family members. I want to tell every one of you, I said to these victims, that you have the right to protect yourself, even from family. Especially from family. Love doesn't mean accepting abuse. It means having healthy boundaries and enforcing them. 5 years after Eric left, he completed his diversion program. No charges were filed. He was legally free. Could go anywhere, do anything. He chose to stay in Arizona. Started his own small construction business. From what Jessica told me, he was doing well, living modestly, working hard, continuing therapy voluntarily. He asks about you, Jessica said during one of her visits. Not pushing, just asking. He wants to know how you're doing. Tell him I'm doing well, teaching classes, volunteering, living my life. He'd like to see you someday. If you're ever ready, maybe someday, but not yet. He understands. He said to tell you he's proud of you. For protecting yourself, for being strong, for not letting him destroy you. I cried when she told me that, because it was what I needed to hear. I'm 75 now. It's been 5 years since that terrible day when Eric tried to force me to sign papers. 5 years since I sent him away. I live alone in my house. The same house James and I shared for 42 years. The same house I've protected from those who would take it from me. I teach legal literacy classes twice a week. I help elderly people recognize warning signs of exploitation. I've assisted dozens of people in protecting themselves from predatory family members. I've become in some ways the person Eric's betrayal forced me to become: stronger, more vigilant, more aware of the darkness people are capable of, even those who claim to love you. But I've also remained who I've always been, a mother who loves her children even when they hurt her, even when they betray her, even when she has to send them away. Eric and I talk monthly now via video. We're building something new. Not the mother-son relationship we once had. That's gone forever. But perhaps something else. Something more honest, more careful, more real. Last month he asked if we could meet in person. Not here. He knows this is my safe space, but somewhere neutral. A coffee shop in a city halfway between Arizona and here. I told him I'd think about it. I'm still thinking about it, because here's what I've learned. Forgiveness is complicated. Love is complicated. Family is complicated. You can love someone and not trust them. You can forgive someone and not let them back into your life. You can hope someone has changed while protecting yourself in case they haven't. All of these things can be true at once. Eric destroyed the relationship we had. He can't fix that, no matter how much work he does on himself. That relationship is dead. Buried with my trust and my naivety and my grief. But maybe we can build something new. Something different. Something that acknowledges what happened while allowing for the possibility of moving forward. Or maybe not. Maybe the hurt is too deep. Maybe the betrayal too complete. Time will tell. For now, I'm content with where I am. Safe in my home. Surrounded by people who actually love me. Doing work that matters. Helping others avoid what I went through. I'm 75 years old. My son tried to exploit my grief to steal my life savings. I stopped him using skills he didn't know I had. The look on his face when he realized his simple teacher mother was actually a trained legal professional. I'll never forget it. The shock, the horror, the dawning realization that he'd underestimated me completely. That moment made everything worthwhile. Not because I enjoyed his pain, I didn't, but because it proved something I needed to prove. I'm not weak. I'm not stupid. I'm not helpless. I'm a 75-year-old woman with decades of experience, knowledge and strength. I taught elementary school for 40 years. Before that I worked in law for 15 years. I've lived through joy and grief, marriage and widowhood, raising children and losing them. I've survived everything life has thrown at me, including my own son's betrayal. And I'm still here. Still strong. Still fighting. That's the lesson I want every elderly person to learn. You are not helpless. You are not weak. You are not too old to protect yourself. You have skills, knowledge, experience. You have rights. You have power. Use it. Don't let anyone, not even family, Especially not family take advantage of your vulnerability. I didn't. And neither should you. I'm Margaret Sullivan. My son called me stupid and tried to steal from me. He learned otherwise. And now he's in Arizona, rebuilding his life, learning to be someone better, while I'm here, teaching others to be strong. That's not the ending I wanted. It's not the happy mother-son reconciliation story everyone hopes for, but it's real. It's honest. It's what happened when I chose myself over accepting abuse, and I wouldn't change it. Because choosing myself, protecting myself even when it broke my heart, was the right choice. Even when the right choice destroys you, it's still right. That's what love really means. Not accepting everything, not sacrificing yourself, but having the courage to do what's necessary even when it hurts, even when it costs you everything. I chose myself, and I'm still here. That's victory enough.